Now, government tax incentives can go a long way to supporting business and therefore the economy.
These include a number of interventions, such as diesel tax relief for farmers and food manufacturers. And to address high unemployment, government introduced the employment tax incentive to help businesses create jobs.
Now, it also supports car manufacturers with the Automotive Production and Development Program. And expectations are that more measures will be announced as global trends now demand that local manufacturing focuses on new energy vehicles.
But how effective are these measures in achieving their goals?
The employment tax incentive was introduced by the government in 2014. Its aim was to encourage employers to hire young people by subsidizing their wages, in this way helping to make a dent in the country's high youth unemployment. Over the years, the government has given employers back billions of rand for the cause.
In terms of the data that's publicly available, in 2020, in financial year 2021, government spent 7.2 billion on this incentive, which was almost double what they had spent in the previous year. So I guess it signals that there's a steady increase in terms of the uptake of this incentive by employers.
The disheartening aspect of all this is that it seems that many small businesses or entrepreneurs are not aware about this government incentive, which is set to come to an end in 2029.
I would say most of the SMME don't take advantage of this, and the reason being they are unaware of it, because you must remember most SMME, they speak with tax practitioners only when they need tax clearance. Once they get their tax clearance, they are happy. They don't really take into account the issues of incentives. How can they minimize profitability or cost or things like that? But for those few of us who knows about it, I can tell you that it does have an impact, because we do, personally, I do hire young people, and I do know that it does reduces my cost of doing business.
But after 10 years of the benefit of the employment tax incentive, questions are still being raised about its overall effectiveness.
It's quite timeless, because there was actually a NEDLAC briefing on Friday last week around the employment tax incentive. The short answer is that insofar as effectiveness is concerned, the jury's still out. There are a few studies out in relation to it. There are relative, or some are, well, on balance, if you like, they're relatively inconclusive. Some are suggest there have been jobs created as a result of it, particularly for the youth and so on, of course, which is what it's aimed at. Others suggest that it hasn't really done anything, very little insofar as job creation is concerned.
Across the agricultural value chain, fuel is a key ingredient for businesses to operate. Farmers have been eligible for the diesel tax relief from the year 2000. More recently, in light of higher inflation, food manufacturers were also given this relief. And it's a benefit that could make a significant difference to a business's bottom line.
If you were to take, for example, a grain farmer and say how much fuel makes in the grain farmer's input cost, it is quite a significant figure, around about 13% of that. But I think if you were to sketch out the fuel as a component of the input cost over the past year, when load shedding was a major issue in the country and continues to be, you will find that fuel usage as a proportion of the input cost probably increased, as some farmers were suddenly forced to utilize generators to generate power on their activities, some that hadn't installed various renewables that we see coming up across the country.
But it has been suggested that the process involved to benefit from the diesel tax relief is so complex and costly that it's just not worth pursuing it.
I think that some improvements that can be made are on the administrative part of that diesel rebate, so that not only farmers with capabilities of being able to comply, but even mid-sized small farmers that are using fuel a lot in their farms can be able to comply.
The automotive sector has been a key beneficiary of government incentives, and now with the world looking to limit its carbon footprint, the expiry date for internal combustion engines is on the horizon.
I think what's key for our industry is to be able to create the kind of capacity to be able to manufacture NEVs locally, to be able to export them, and I guess in the long term to encourage consumers to adopt NEVs. But I think key is charging infrastructure also. And I think the opportunity to create or offer incentives for manufacturers to enter the value chain to manufacture components for charging infrastructure.
New incentives for the automotive sector will likely be costly for the government, but experts argue that the South African taxpayer can ill afford not to make this investment, given that over 60% of cars manufactured in the country head to export markets, many of which are set to ban gas-guzzling cars in less than 10 years. A failure to secure this sector's future would undermine the industry and related jobs. With government coffers decidedly not overflowing, it's important that whatever sectors they support with subsidies or incentives, that a periodic calculation is made as to whether the incentive is achieving the desired socio-economic goal. Nampumelo Losiziba, SABC News, Johannesburg.